anybody in the Carolina family doesn't say that MJ is number one, they're excommunicado. Come on now. MJ's the greatest ever. Come on.
Yeah, he is. Motherfucker ain't lose nothing.
Yeah.
At all. He don't even know what losing is.
He don't know what.
Man, this man is MVP, defensive player of the year.
It's insane.
He's MVP, first team all defense, finals MVP, and leading the league in scoring all in the same year.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Only been done 4 times, all MJ. Say that again.
Yeah, that's crazy.
First team all defense, MVP of the regular season, MVP of the finals, lead the league in scoring. Only been done 4 times. MJ. It was great playing with Mike because I got to see why he was Mike.
Yeah.
You think, a lot of times people think great players are great because they just roll out of bed and they're great. And for him, it was like, nah, the work ethic is crazy. At 40 years old, 39 years old, he done proved everything. He's still in the gym before everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, he's there with Tim Grover lifting early, getting up shots. Like, footwork is impeccable. Had a young dude on our team by the name of Bobby Simmons. And like MJ, Bobby ended up leaving us and ended up becoming
Milwaukee?
I want to say like Bobby had like a couple of really good years. I want to say he got like most improved, something like that. But Bobby used to just, all the footwork stuff that MJ was teaching, like, yo, you read him this way. Like, yeah, when you jab this way, like everything he did was calculated. I was watching when he was teaching Bobby.
Yeah.
Obviously, he wasn't teaching me none of that stuff. You know, I couldn't do nothing with it. But he was teaching Bobby, like, yeah, when you jab, you read this way. He drops his foot this way, you counter with this. And so I started seeing this ain't by accident. He's reading your body move. He's reading your body language. Oh, you drop that top foot. I know I'm going here. That defense rotates. I know I'm getting to this fade. Like, up and unders, all that. And it's just like, seeing how much work he put in, how calculated he was, and then the competitive nature. I mean, he didn't want to lose nothing. Like, that's 2 years. I mean, you can't pay for that.
Yeah.
Like, you get to see the best of all time, and you get to see what makes him that. You know, so he just, in practice, he just didn't want to lose it all.
Some legends know when to walk away, but Michael Jordan was never one of them. By the time Brendan Haywood got that unforgettable call from his agent, Jordan had already conquered the basketball world twice, retired twice, and become something more than just a player, a living myth. Bad news, his agent said. You're being traded from Orlando. Good news, Michael Jordan made the trade for you. Haywood froze. He wasn't just switching teams. He was entering the gravitational pull of the most relentless competitor in sports history. The Washington Wizards were meant to rebuild, and at 39, Jordan was supposed to be the man in the suit, not the jersey. But if you knew MJ, you knew he wasn't built for stillness. His return in 2001 wasn't about glory, money, or fame. It was about unfinished business. His body had slowed, but his obsession hadn't. The game still lived inside him, pulling him back to the court. Even as time caught up, his presence felt otherworldly, not a man chasing nostalgia, but a legend reminding the world what greatness still looked like in real time. For Brendan Haywood and the young Wizards, Jordan's return wasn't just a comeback, it felt like a resurrection. They weren't sharing the court with a man. They were standing beside a living monument who was still willing to bleed just to prove the legend was real. That's when they learned something priceless. True greatness never retires, it simply transforms. When the boss himself stepped onto the floor, it wasn't some PR stunt, it was an earthquake. Imagine it, the man who signed your paycheck suddenly lacing up sneakers next to you, the executive upstairs now stretching beside you before tip-off. For those young players, it was surreal, like watching a statue come to life. The atmosphere changed instantly. Conversations stopped, eyes followed, and every move Jordan made carried a kind of reverence. Haywood would later laugh about it. Guys would say, "We're going out tonight, you coming?" I'd tell them, "Man, you're partying with the boss, I'm good." It wasn't fear, it was respect, maybe even survival instinct. When Michael Jordan was in the room, the standard didn't need to be spoken, it was felt. And what truly set him apart wasn't just his dominance, it was how he used his power. Not as intimidation, but as a mirror, forcing everyone around him to see what excellence really looked like. Michael Jordan didn't return to supervise, he came back to sweat. This wasn't about nostalgia or headlines, it was about accountability. He wanted every player in that locker room to see, up close, what greatness truly costs. At 39, wrapped in scars and tape, he showed that there are no shortcuts, no excuses, no off days. Every morning, he He was in the gym before sunrise with Tim Grover, grinding like it was 1996 all over again. By the time the younger guys arrived, Jordan was already drenched, the smell of effort hanging in the air. He wasn't there to impress anyone, he was there to remind them. His body couldn't do what it once did, but his mind evolved. He replaced speed with precision, hang time with mastery, and youth with wisdom. That season, the Wizards didn't just play alongside him, they witnessed him. They saw greatness stripped of glamour, laid bare in sweat and sacrifice. Jordan didn't preach about hard work, he was hard work. When a 39-year-old legend is still shooting jumpers at midnight, you don't clock out, you stay and learn. His obsession became their oxygen. He wasn't chasing greatness anymore. He was protecting its legacy. That was the paradox of Michael Jordan. He didn't return for applause or nostalgia. He came back for the quiet, the echo of a bouncing ball, the burn of sweat, the solitude where greatness is rebuilt day after day. When he whispered to himself, "I'm still me," it carried more power than a roaring arena. For those 2 years, the Wizards didn't just have a captain. They had a living example of excellence, the boss and the soldier, the teacher and the test, all in one. Jordan wasn't trying to prove anything to the world anymore. He was proving something to himself, that greatness isn't a moment in time, it's a state of being. It doesn't fade, it doesn't age, it doesn't ask for permission. It simply steps back on the court and declares, "I'm still the standard." At 40, his greatness wasn't memory, it was muscle memory. Most players slow down as time wears them down, their hunger fading with age. But for Jordan, work was never punishment, it was oxygen. Brendan Haywood remembered it vividly, a 39-year-old legend, older than some coaches, still the first man in the gym. By the time the younger players arrived, Jordan was already drenched in sweat, training with Tim Grover, his movements sharp and intentional. He wasn't just playing basketball, he was studying it, dissecting it. He read defenders like lines of code, predicting every move before it happened. One twitch, one glance, and he knew your next mistake. Every jab was a question. Every fake, a trap. Every reaction, a verdict. The core of it all was obsession, the kind of hunger that never grows old. By then, it wasn't about banners or trophies anymore, it was about ritual. The court was his altar, and the repetition was his prayer. Cameras never caught that side. The 6 a.m. workouts, the 1,000th jumper in an empty gym, the refusal to let time or rust touch his name. People assume greatness is effortless, that legends just wake up great. But as Brendan Haywood said, not him. Jordan wasn't maintaining greatness, he was still chasing it. Even at 40, with nothing left to prove, his drive burned like it was day one. That's what the young Wizards witnessed, the quiet rhythm of excellence, day after day. He didn't need pep talks or slogans. His movement was his message. His discipline filled the room like oxygen. Bobby Simmons became one of his students, studying the micro-details Jordan mastered: foot angles, body positioning, offensive geometry. A year later, Simmons was named Most Improved Player. That wasn't coincidence. That was impact. Jordan didn't have to coach. His existence was the lesson, his work ethic the curriculum. As Haywood said best, you can't pay for that. You just get to see the greatest of all time and understand why he's the greatest. Because in the end, greatness isn't magic. It's repetition, obsession, and the refusal to stop chasing perfect. Greatness, for Michael Jordan, was never a destination, it was maintenance. It was what you did when no one was keeping score. The war you kept fighting long after victory was already yours. Most players walk away when the cheers fade, but Jordan stayed because the silence was his applause. Even as pain crept in and time left its marks, he never broke his code: work first, excuses last. He wasn't chasing youth. He was chasing purity, that razor-sharp edge where the game still felt alive under his fingertips. For him, that feeling meant more than any trophy ever could. That's why, even at 40, players like Brendan Haywood finally understood. Now I get it, he thought. Now I see why his mic. Not just because Jordan could still drop 40, though he could, but because he embodied something timeless. Greatness isn't something you achieve, it's something you preserve. And for Jordan, the work never died. His power didn't come from domination anymore, it came from presence. At 40, he didn't need to jump over you or bury you with points. One look was enough. Haywood still remembers how the young players, barely in their 20s, would step onto the court with trembling hands and wide eyes, realizing the man they grew up idolizing was now standing across from them, still every bit the legend they imagined. These were players who had grown up with his posters on their walls and his number stitched into their dreams. And now, he was standing right in front of them, flesh and blood, staring back with that same cold, surgical glare that had haunted opponents for decades. Haywood remembered it vividly, a rookie, wide-eyed and nervous, glancing down at his shoes, frozen by the moment. Jordan could sense it instantly. He'd smirk, lean in, and whisper, "I got him." And just like that, the game was over before the tip dash off. It wasn't arrogance, it was instinct. After years of being the apex predator, Jordan could read fear like it was a language. The smallest hesitation, the slightest crack, he saw it all, and he struck. He wasn't just playing anymore, he was hunting reverence. He wanted to prove that respect didn't buy mercy. You could idolize him, worship him, wear his shoes, but if you stood across from him, he'd dismantle you piece by piece, just to remind you that he still could, even in Washington. Aura never faded. For the new generation raised on his highlights, facing him was like stepping into a legend's shadow, a living myth who didn't need words. The gum chewing, the stare, the stillness, it said everything. Those were the same eyes that broke the Pistons, buried the Lakers, and tormented every defender who dared look back. Haywood used to laugh about it later. He'd nudge the point guard and say, "Yo, that rookie's starstruck. Let me get him early tonight." And sure enough, a few possessions later, that rookie would be broken, another name quietly added to Jordan's endless list of lessons. Michael Jordan's greatest power was never just his athleticism or his signature fadeaway. It was his mind.